Hello everyone, welcome back to another classic car review. Today we are reviewing my 1986 Dodge Ram D150. Two-wheel drive, short bed, standard cab. The holy trifecta. Now, this is not any normal 1986 Dodge Ram. This truck has a special surprise under the hood. So I'll be showing that off and giving you a full tour, a little bit of the history of it, and start it up for you. So let's go. Starting on the outside, you can see it's had some custom things done to it. I would say rather tastefully by yours truly. And we'll start with one of the big things, one of my absolute favorite parts, is these slot mag wheels. Nice throwback to 70s and late 60s hot rodding, when these were on many vehicles, and you could even find them on some factory options. AMC and I know Ford had some variations. But moving on to the paint is not original, and some of it does stick through. It's not the greatest paint job either, and it's got some scratches and such, but overall, from good 5-10 feet, looks really nice. Looks very nice. But it is Hemi orange, and on camera it's probably going to look a little bit more red, and I get a lot of it where people say, oh, nice red truck. Not red, Hemi orange, which is a very red orange, I guess you could say. Again, with the slot mag wheels and the exhaust. We'll talk more about that later when I get to the motor. Coming around back here, got all my stickers on the rear window. KTVF, if you know, you know. And if somebody knows what that is from, go ahead and comment down below. Nice little laugh. The tailgate is also actually not original to this truck. This is a tailgate I bought around the same time I got the truck painted in August of 2017. Guy had it up for sale for, I want to say, $50. So me and my dad went and picked it up for the fact that it also works. Never mind that I don't have to deal with the applique. Originally this was supposed to be an applique right here, but I didn't like it nearly as much, so I wanted the stamped out Dodge Ram logo. I think it just looks way cool. Now, as for suspension goes, it is totally stock. That is not lifted in the rear at all, nor is it lowered in the front. That is stock ride height on this truck. I do plan on fixing that. I'm going to level it out, bring down the rear end, because it's a little too high up in the air. Little too much. Now let's address my hood ornament here. It is absolutely massive on the front of the truck. And actually, it's not even meant for a passenger vehicle or passenger truck. It's meant for a big rig. Now, it is another reference to two movies, actually. One of them, the first one that this saw its appearance in, was called Convoy. It was a 1977 trucker movie. Now, and the second one was a Quentin Tarantino film called Death Proof. And this is supposed to make direct reference to Convoy. And I got this one off of a website called deathproofduck.com. I don't know if the website exists. I don't believe so. Last time I checked, it said that the website was totally down. So I don't know if it's back up or what. Now, this truck is named Texas Truck. Reason being, this license plate, which has always been on the truck ever since we got it. Originally, my dad had bought this truck, and it became my own after I had started working on it. Putting my own time and money into making it run and all that jazz. So, and further to prove that, it was a Texas truck. Genuine Texas registration from 2000 to 2004. I'm gonna try and find a way to fix the peeling, because that registration is just too cool to let go. But yeah, truck is named Texas Truck just because of the license plate. And it does have a cool story, which I will be getting into soon. Moving on to the interior. Opens up, nice and wide. And let's take a look at that inside. That is the original bench seat from 1986. Never been reupholstered, never even repaired. And as far as I know, this truck was never smoked in. So it does have obviously some things that need fixed, like the door strap right here is in need of replacement, and the armrest is also not in great shape either, but that's all stuff that I am intending on getting into coming soon. And as you notice, this truck was optioned with power windows plus cruise control. So this was a little bit higher optioned vehicle back in 1986. Whoever bought this very much to their liking. They did not want to settle. This was, I'm pretty sure, ordered just like this. So let's step inside here. At time of recording here, we see 57,000 miles. And I can definitely attest that this is not 157,000. The truck handles beautifully. There's still a lot of parts that would normally wear out by this time that have not. When I replaced the wheel cylinders in the rear, they still had the Chrysler Pentastar logo, like what's seen right here in the little rubber coverings on the wheel cylinders. And as you notice, that doesn't exactly match up with what trim this is, but I saw it on one of my previous trucks that I had bought. I've owned 3 of these trucks. This one was my first one, and I had 2 others, and so I yanked that out of one of the other ones just because the truck is pretty custom right now. The floor is, yeah, it's dirty. The mats need to be cleaned, and it was a lot left from when I was still bringing it back around and making it right again. but it's very, very nice in here. Very spacious interior. And that's what I enjoy most about the interior, is just how roomy it is. I mean, I can reach my whole arm. My back's totally against the bench, and I'm just able to touch the dash with my middle finger. Now, let's take a look under the hood, and I'll show you what's going on there. Oh yeah, and the horn works too. And there is the big surprise. 400 big block. Swapped in by yours truly. Now, there is a lot of messy wiring, as you can tell. I need to clean it up. But I did the swap just about by myself, excluding the wiring, because I don't know how to do wiring. But this engine was donated out of a 1983 Dodge four-wheel drive. It was a W150. Bought that truck for really cheap and only had the intention of yanking this engine out and putting it in this truck, because by that time the transmission in this behind the 318 was kaput, and this was ready to go in, and I already had a transmission too. And the transmission is actually a 727 Torque Flight 3-speed automatic, and that is out of a 1969 Dodge Charger. And I can verify that because the VIN was stamped into the side of the casing for the 727. The first 4 digits read XS29, which is coded for a 69 Dodge Charger. Now, as for this motor, it is a 1973 casting 400 big block low deck Mopar. Basically, think about it like a 383, just like the engine, well, that's in this car, just newer and a little bit bigger. What's all done to it is obviously a new carburetor, intake. These cylinder heads are what I believe to be 1965 casting 516 heads. So they have a bit higher compression than what would have normally come on this engine. It's got a big old camshaft. I don't know the specs of it. I was never given any paperwork or even told what it was supposed to be. I don't know the duration, lift, nothing. I just know it's just a very lumpy camshaft. These headers now are supposed to be for a 76 Dodge truck, but thankfully they work perfectly in here. If you are doing this swap yourself, I can link down in the comments or the description the part number for these, so you can pick them up yourself. But be wary, they are expensive. It will run you about $700 or so. Just beautiful. Now let's come over here to what we see being the NSD 6AL-2 ignition box. This is a wonderful upgrade from the stock Chrysler ignition system. Produces a much hotter spark than factory. Even the orange box, it's good for a faithful restoration, but this wasn't obviously any sort of faithful restoration. This was pretty much cheap big block in an 80s Dodge truck. And it looks good. Looks really good. Coming around now to the exhaust. This is a regular old kit off of Amazon. They were just it was a kit of like stainless, I don't know how many feet, but stainless tubing. I had a friend custom cut and TIG weld the whole thing. And they are breathing out of Thrush 2-chamber welded mufflers. And boy, do they sound good. I cannot wait for you to hear it, because it does sound really good. Back inside the cab, I forgot one last detail, and that was between the engine and transmission. I have a bigger torque converter. It is a 28 to 3200 stall, generic Summit brand torque converter. And for this application, it works actually very well. Does give it a nice whole shot off a, from a light, from a dig. It'll burn tires pretty good. So now, why don't we fire it up and have a listen to that big block roar. Now, let's go through a little bit of the history of this truck, how it ended up in my hands, and a little bit of the backstory behind it. And this is starting from basically as far as I can basically tell. A guy from Hadley had bought it from a Texas impound auction after it was allegedly used to run drugs. Yeah, this was a drug runner truck, apparently. I have no way of verifying that, so it's basically just based on hearsay. But a guy from Hadley, Michigan had bought it and brought it up to his horse barn, where from there he didn't drive it around much. It sat in his horse barn, and he was going to make some sort of low rider with pretty sure some little generic engine. He probably wasn't even gonna engine swap it at that point. But he listed on Craigslist, and my father bought it, and from there it took me to school a lot of days, and actually I'm pretty sure it even took my dad to work a few times, and he worked well over 70 miles away at some points. So And then after he had retired, the truck sat. And it sat in my driveway and sat. And collectively, from the math that I've done, this truck has sat about 26 years altogether of its 38 years of existence. Which is sad, because a vehicle like this deserves to be driven, and there was a lot of components that did wear out that I had to replace, especially when I was doing the engine swap. In total, the engine swap actually wasn't that bad, financially nor mechanically. It all pretty much dropped together just about as you see it. Didn't have to do any fabricating, nor did I even have to bash the headers. That's something that I know a lot of swaps, especially ones like this that aren't typically done, people have to do a lot. Thankfully, I didn't have to do it for this one. But when I was 16, my dad had talked about selling this truck, and I convinced him not to. I told him, no, I want to keep this truck. I want it forever. I love this thing. And my dad's like, okay, that's your first vehicle. So for my 16th birthday, I got a carburetor and intake for the 318, which at that time I had thought was from the early 70s, because I did a little bit of digging and concluded that the engine in this truck was not original. And it was a 318 with a 904, very run-of-the-mill, nothing crazy. It wasn't until I did the engine swap and I pulled out that old 318 that I was able to confirm that that engine was not original. It was cast in July of 1988. If I remember correctly, it was 7/14/88, and I sold it at a swap meet to a guy that desperately needed an engine for his truck. So that engine went to a good home, and recent updates on that engine are it got bored 30 over, and he's got some better pistons, cam, heads. So that engine went to a good home, thankfully. And as I stated previously, I bought a 1983 four-wheel drive truck, and that truck was way too far gone to save. I mean, you could open the door and the whole rocker was totally non-existent, basically. You could open the door, walk in, and close it behind you and still be standing right where the floor should be. It was bad. Sold that truck. So I do have a lot of this documented on my Instagram, which I will link in the description below. If you want to follow me on there, I am Carbureted Official on there as well. So that's the truck, the story. And if I'm forgetting any other details, probably just put them in the comments or the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and I should have future car reviews coming up soon. We'll see. I have some friends that are willing to let me film their cars and show, full tour of them as well. So we're gonna have more content on this truck and the Chrysler 300 coming. I don't know exactly when, but I know there's some big plans for the Chrysler, and you'll see that in the future. But thank you again for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.